Woohoo! It is officially NFL week. I mean, we've been waiting. We've been waiting for this one. We got the first game in 3 days? We got the Birds playing in less than 1 week. It's myself, Josh Safran, alongside of the man of many digits. I don't know how many digits there are. Let's just say there's one because it's week
one digit this week, Josh.
And you know what? You got to go 1-0 every week. And that starts, I was about to say that starts today, but I guess it does start today because this is week 1 digits, fresh off a trip to Chicago. How are you feeling, man?
Feeling great, man. Had a beautiful Labor Day weekend in the Windy City. Really, for the most part, minus a little bit on Sunday. Gorgeous weather. Got out, saw the sights, saw the sounds, got some history, got some culture, got some drinks.
Check all the boxes right there.
Had myself a weekend. All I know is that I need to maybe hibernate for a week or two to do make up for the financial losses. But that's what vacations are for, man. You go on vacation, you don't worry. Make sure you have enough money when you go.
Yeah, but speaking of financial loss, man, this is a bad time to be down in the wallet. It's week 1. I mean, come on.
Don't worry, I've got a separate slush fund set aside.
Well, if anything, this was a good week to take a vacation because you're betting on yourself to just hit everything this weekend, which it's week 1 though.
I'm about to be in the lab for the next 18 Sundays in a row. I don't have time to be in different time zones.
Exactly.
I will say that. I'll make that my closing statement about Chicago. Even the 1 hour difference is super weird for sports. Yeah. It's so weird. I'm just I'm just so conditioned to 7 o'clock or 7:30 being the times I need to look for, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I went to Dallas, because it's like, it doesn't feel like it's like, you kind of feel like the East Coast. Like 3 hours, you can be like, okay, you make a big deal of it. It's like, 3 hour difference. The 1 hour is sneaky, man.
1 hour is very sneaky, very sneaky. I think that's a good way to put it.
So we're talking pretty much all NFL today, except, I mean, this is a 4-for-4 Philly show. We're going to have to be a 4-for-4, and we're going to have to redact the Flyers and insert the Union, by the way.
I'm in for that. I'm totally in for that. They deserve
it. For now, we're talking about the Phillies, then we'll talk about the Eagles, and then we're going to talk about the NFL as a whole, because Digits and I are just jumping out of our shoes here. So let's get the bad news out of the way, man. I know you've been in Chirac, as the kids call it. You probably haven't been glued to the TV set with Philadelphia Phillies, but the bottom line is this. You have an ESPN app. You have seen the scores of these games. You have seen that. Let me check this right now. Bad research on my part, because last I checked, the Brewers were winning today. They're up 6-4 in the bottom of the 9th, so we need some magic from the Rockies, Digits. The Phillies, by the end of this episode, in all likelihood, will only be 2 games up on the wild card. Are you pressing the panic button? Because quite frankly, it's pretty hard not to.
It is starting to feel a little panicky. I believe the Phillies have lost 8 straight road games, and I believe that in their last 10 one-run games, I think there's like 2-8 or something like that.
I know they won 1 game. They won 1 game against the Diamondbacks, but it's 6.
Maybe it was 7 of the last 8,
something like that. Yeah,
in the last 8 road games. So that's not great considering. I think. I mean, it's not great in general, but I believe. From the last time I looked at the schedule, I'm pretty sure September is like maybe slightly leaning towards a road game heavy schedule, if I'm remembering correctly.
It's pretty. So, I mean, it's road game heavy because of this period. They're home this week, 2 series in a row, and then they go on the road 2 series in a row. Then they come back 2 series in a row. So it's
okay. So it's pretty even split. Okay, gotcha. I mean, I'm still maybe we say this, the glass casing is lifted up on the panic button.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I'm hitting it quite yet. I'll say this, as long as you win at home, right? Like you still control your own destiny at this point. So I'm not panicking, and I think that's because of how well they played in July and August for the most part. So I'll say this, they were never, every team has a little slump every now and then. It doesn't matter if you're it doesn't matter if you're the Dodgers or the Mets or, the Yankees or the Astros or the Rays or
slump with the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like the Yankees were so hot in the beginning of the season. They've afforded themselves this 3-4 slump they've been in.
Yeah, but
Phillies, they don't have that kind of wiggle room.
To come back on that one though, is that slump. Before that slump started, the Yankees were probably unanimously the favorite, if not co-favorites. Let's say the Dodgers or the Mets for winning the World Series. Now nobody thinks they're winning the World Series.
Nobody believes in them anymore.
Yeah. So while they're probably going to win the AL East, which is still probably they're only 5 games up now on the Rays.
They're only like 2 or 3 games up. They were playing the Rays and they just finished a series with them. But still,
yeah. But the point stands where sure they've afforded themselves that, but this is where the cream rises and the pretenders sink. And I get why your glass casing is up, right? I think if I'm going to be honest with you, that's probably the more appropriate reaction. So here's how I'll break it down. Me as sports fan, as Phillies fan, Josh, as a fan of this team, I'm hitting the panic button, man. I think you have to hit the panic button solely because of the last 4 years. How on earth can I watch these first 5 days of September roll by against the Diamondbacks and the lowly Giants, a Giants team that is pretty much done and dusted, who needed to sweep against the Phillies to have a chance.
The All-Star break, yeah.
Yes. It's so hard not to hit the panic button just because this is all we've seen before. But I will say, I think that if you want to be like a non-biased Phillies fan, right, take past trauma out of the way, I think it's more appropriate to just lift the glass case up. And 2 games is not a lot, but let's not forget this Phillies team has a tiebreaker against, I think, every team, including the Brewers, that is in the chase. That does make me feel better. They're about to play the Marlins and they're about to play the Nationals in back-to-back series. So this week. I don't want to say the playoffs start this week, but I'm saying the playoffs start this week. It's just so tough. And the forecast is not looking like it might do the team any favors. I think they're going to get rained out tomorrow, which I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's bad. I never really know what to make of that. But man, I think you kind of have to press the panic button solely based off of the last few years. I hope they prove me wrong. And I don't know. I think if I guess what I'm trying to say, if the Phillies wore different colors and had a different logo and had a different history,
if they weren't the Phillies,
weren't the Phillies, you should not be pressing the panic button. But they are the Phillies.
But they are. So yeah,
it's scary stuff, man. And you see Wheeler, he's still on the IL. I thought that was more of a precaution for the playoffs. Now I'm like, just get in the damn playoffs. Digits, in short, you're sticking to your guns. No panic button, but you're ready to press.
I'll say this once. If and when the Phillies enter a tie, I'm hitting panic button for sure.
Jesus, man. That's awful. All right, Rocky's got a runner on in the bottom of the ninth. So, hey, that would be huge.
We're not dead yet.
We're not dead yet. In short, though, I'm pressing the panic button because they're the damn Phillies. I mean, Bryce got up here and they've won, 1 or 2 games? Golly. It's something about that's so on brand for this team. But anyways, man, that's enough. That's the I don't even know what to put it. Just get it out of the way. It's time to talk about the Eagles. How about it, Digits? Before we talk about this Eagles-Lions game, I got a big question for you. Have you watched Hard Knocks?
No.
Oh,
never been a Hard Knocks guy. I'll admit it.
I've never been a Hard Knocks guy either, but I think there's something about the Eagles playing the Lions week 1 that has made me watch Hard Knocks this year. I've been loving it.
That's fair.
But here's the bottom line, man. It's been the discussion all freaking off season. There's zero doubt. I mean, I almost feel like nationally the Eagles might get even more hype than locally. Especially with this Chauncey Gardner-Johnson,
I would say they are.
With all the shows doing the football previews, everybody's vanilla hot take is Eagles could be something in the NFC this year.
I saw who was it? Chris Sims had the Eagles losing in the NFC Championship game to the 49ers.
If the Eagles are playing the 49ers in the NFC Championship, I'm taking the Eagles, but let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I want to get to week 1, Digits. Oh man, I can't believe it's here. Here we go. Week 1. What is your prediction for this game? And I think for me, the story for this game 1 is talent versus being football ready. Because if you watch Hard Knocks, Lions are going harder than the Eagles. There's no doubt about that, but the talent gap is ridiculous. Give it to me, Digits.
I think that's a really, really adept way of putting it. If you wanted to give it a 1-sentence summary, if I'm being totally honest with you, I will say this, right? I think that it's going to be a little closer than when the Eagles went to Detroit last season. I don't know if the Eagles are going to win by 38 again. I think I'm willing to put my neck out on that. But I will say this, the Lions defense, while the defensive line's gotten a little bit better, for the most part, everything else has kind of sort of stayed the same. The Lions were, let me see here. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my stats. Yeah. So the Lions were bottom 5 in yards allowed against receivers. And I kind of touched on this last week.
Right.
And out of the first, it kind of tailed off towards the end of the season, but out of the first 10 games they played, there was only 2 games where they didn't allow a 100-yard receiver. And one of those games was to the Bengals where 2 receivers had over 80 yards. And the other game was to the Eagles where the Eagles ran for about 250 yards and dominated defensively. So the Lions still seem to kind of lack playmaking on the outside, which I think will be really, a really big deal against a team that has gotten a lot better at making plays on the outside. I kind of alluded to this last week. I think AJ Brown is in as prime as a spot as any receiver in the league entering week 1 in terms of like guys who could be the best receiver of that particular week. And there's obviously some stiff competition with guys like Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson, but like AJ Brown has a legitimate chance to go for 150 yards and multiple touchdowns if the game calls for it. There's definitely a world where things get ugly out of hand and the Eagles take control early. But I think for the most part, this will be maybe competitive, less competitive as the game goes, shall we say. I think the Lions are more football ready and they're going to come out swinging. Like, I'm going to be very nervous when the Eagles are potentially losing at halftime. But I think that the overall talent and coaching quality, I like Dan Campbell, but I think Sirianni's what? Oh yeah, I mean, how could you not as a personal? But I think he's underrated as like an actual X's and O's guy too. Like seriously. he was learning on the fly last year, and the Lions were getting better down the stretch for for whatever that's worth. Which at some point teams aren't taking you super duper seriously when you're 2-13 in week 16. You know what I mean? Yeah. But on the other hand, they did show improvement consistently. I'd say maybe from week 10, week 11 on, they were much more competitive. I would say that after that Eagles game, the Eagles game was kind of like I don't want to say a turning point because they didn't do any better win-loss. But in terms of level of competitiveness, like they were able to hang with other teams, of higher quality to a higher degree after that point. So I'm going to say that there's going to be a fair amount of points in this game. I do think the Lions secondary is still pretty suspect. And also we got to remember last year, the Eagles came out prepared for the Falcons last year, and the Eagles were much more of an unknown quantity. I think that I'm confident saying Nick Sirianni's a good preparation guy. Like when he's had the extra rest or the bye week, he's come out and he's looked sharp in terms of how he wants the game to go. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to say Eagles 34-21 is your final.
Wow. That's a lot of points. All right.
The Lions they're not a great defense, man. They're really not.
They're absolutely not. All right. So I'm glad you didn't try to play this cat and mouse game or anything like that with the Lions winning. Like, dude, there's a lot of people in Philadelphia media specifically.
I don't think the Lions will win, but I think that if you're expecting the Eagles to be dominating by halftime, I think you'd be mistaken.
So okay, no, I was going to say that. I think it'll be close at halftime, but man, the bottom line is that the Eagles are in a different stratosphere than this Lions team. It's really as simple as that. I mean, I'm just looking at the Lions depth chart. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? Like, but like compared to the Eagles, like, oh, that's cute. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you got your nice little young receiver. Maybe he'll be something like, he'll put up some good stats, but he's going up against Darius Slay. Oh, DJ Chark, everyone's favorite Jaguars fantasy week 2 pickup, going up against James Bradbury, man. Like Josh Reynolds, nice little flex. Like these aren't guys who are going to win football games for you. These guys might win fantasy games for you, but they are not that talented. DeAndre Swift, look, he scares me, right? Like he's a good player. He'll break a screen pass for 60 yards or something like that. But Digits, let's not forget who's the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. It's Jared Goff. And he had a fantastic training camp. I don't care, man. I do not care that Jared Goff it's training camp. And if we want to be all excited, which I think we absolutely should be, about this Eagles secondary, why are we worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff? I think it'll be close at halftime, sure, but I'm with you, man. I think second half will be an absolute rout. And Digits, you said something about last year's week 1 that I kind of wanted to touch on. You're absolutely right that they were an unknown commodity. And let's be real, Falcons sucked last year, and they kind of figured themselves out. They figured themselves out a little bit to their credit later in that season. I feel as if the Eagles are still an unknown commodity this season. There's just so much new about them. And one of the biggest things is A.J. Brown. Absolutely is A.J. Brown. You still don't know what this team's identity is, right? Because last season, their identity was absolutely running the ball. Oh, boy. Our boy Corey Jackson is in the chat. I got to stop myself. It's Corey. Welcome back, man.
Welcome back, Corey.
This game, I'm assuming he means won't. This game won't be close. We need to put a statement from the get-go. We a championship team. And it's not time to mess around. I think this team is hungry and got great leaders to keep them focused. Thank you, Corey. And I mean, last season, man, you were talking that talk, but they weren't ready. They were on the come up. It's different, man. You got weapons. You got AJ Brown. So Digits, you said what? 27-13. That is or no, I'm sorry.
34-21.
34-21. That is a spread cover. I don't think the Lions see 20 points. I just don't see them getting 20 points. I'm going 17-31. I was going to say 28, but they get a little field goal in there. 17-31. I mean, I get a little nervous putting these points up there because Las Vegas has the spread at 3.5. What's up with that?
I think that's a little bit of, I think that's some Hard Knocks juice, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. But man, 3.5, that's disrespectful. I'm going to take it. I'm sure I'll be sweating it in one way or another. Oh, man. All right. So we got the obvious out of the way. Sorry to say it's the obvious, but come on. To me, it's the obvious. I think they're going to steamroll the Lions. I'm with Corey. I'm with you, Digits. How about this? Forget about the actual result. What are you looking for? Right? Like, just been such a hyped offseason. When Sunday comes around and the game's over, like, what do you want to be like, man, I'm so glad X happened?
I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm glad that AJ Brown happened. I'm glad that we have a guy who is going to be able to play every single snap, who's going to be, a plus in the run game, who's going to be a dynamic passing game weapon, both short, medium, and long. Like AJ Brown has a full route tree. There's not a single route that he doesn't or can't run. Like the easiest way to put it is that throwing him a bubble screen is probably the route that he sees the least, because he's so big and strong. He can essentially get you bubble screens, 5-6 yards down the field, because he can box out any cornerback, and you can have, you can get the ball to him quick 4 or 5 yards farther down the field. So I think we're going to be very glad that AJ Brown happened. I think having a true alpha is really going to open up the field for guys like Dallas Goedert and Devonta Smith. Like, I think that a guy who requires that kind of attention, because let's be honest, the Eagles did not have a guy who required that kind of attention last year. I love Devonta Smith. Right. I think he's going to be a really good player, but he was not an over-imposing alpha dog receiver last year. And Dallas Goedert, had to come into his own after finally being a solo act for his whole career up until the Zach Ertz trade. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the AJ Brown effect. Is it going to be him directly, or is it going to be his influence?
I like that. Because Digits, I mean, I forgot to mention this, and I mean, we said this last episode, but I think game one's going to kick this off. Look, I mean, I'm not this huge like Jeff Okudah fan or anything like that, but I could see Okudah playing decent defense against AJ Brown, and I think it's a Devontae Smith game, and that's the AJ. But that, to your credit, the AJ Brown effect. Corey Jackson, I'm looking for both sides of the ball to dominate. We already touched on Digits, AJ Brown, so this comes to mind. I want to see that defensive line get to the quarterback. That's been something that has really been missing from this Eagles game since the 2017 season. I mean, we can talk. I know you and me can talk all day.
I actually think the Lions have a sneaky underrated offensive line, if I'm being totally honest. I'm actually more looking for the cornerback trio of Slay, Bradbury, and Maddox to be as good as we think they are. I think this will be an early indicator. Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of came on strong at the end of last year, but
I mean, he's good.
I think it's fair to say that he still would be considered a pretty weak wide receiver one as of right now.
Absolutely.
I think by the end of the season, that could be a pretty controversial statement, but I think as of right now, it's pretty fair to question a guy that, had 80% of his production in the last 4 or 5 games of the season last year.
I mean, he's a good receiver, but I like how you put it. For a wide receiver one, that's weak, plain and simple.
Exactly. And TJ Hawkinson hasn't lived up to the bill since he's been drafted. DeAndre Swift's been good, but we know the Eagles' forte is stopping the run. Like the Eagles have a very disruptive front four, even when they haven't been getting to the quarterback the last couple of years. And we've talked about the linebacker upgrades. I'm liking the linebacker upgrades, but I really think that this game, if the Eagles are going to be dominant on defense, it's going to be because the Lions can get no outside separation on Bradbury and Slay, I would say.
And that brings me back to and I think you make a good point, but they have a sneaky good offensive line, but I don't know. I feel like you're being generous where you're like, I have to say something kind of nice about the Lions.
I mean, I think they do have a good offensive line. I mean, even, if the Eagles are up huge early and the Lions are going to be in obvious passing down situations, that's never been Jared Goff's strong suit. And they're going to look worse. I mean, any offensive line is going to look worse when you're obviously dropping back to pass every time. But I think the Eagles offensive line, the Eagles defensive line most likely isn't going to come out and on play one of Lions offense going to be a negative loss. Like I don't think it's going to be that easy on defense.
So I mean, so Digits, that's why I am looking for it though, because I just think this defensive line.
You want to see them go against someone good and get it done.
I think they have the potential. Like this team, like I'm with Corey here, man. This team is a legitimate contender, especially in a watered down NFC this year. Not that it's like watered down, but the playing field's much more level. There's no Titans of the NFC this year. I say Titans, like forget that's a real team in the NFL sometimes. You know what I mean? There's no like one off dominant team in the NFC, at least in my opinion. I think the Eagles, if they are going to be that team, if they are going to be a team that gets 12, 13 wins this season, that defensive line is going to be what tips the needle this season. And you were saying it with Jordan Davis last week. I'm not saying Jordan Davis specifically, but like that's what I want to see of other than Jalen Hurts, of course. We don't even have to mention that. That's the obvious. We need to see a good game from Jalen Hurts, but that's the obvious, man. You got anything else to add before we bounce out to the rest of the league?
I don't think so. I think
feel good.
I'll say this. I think I'm less on your and Corey's side. Like I'm not agreeing that this is going to be a dominant game. I think the scoreline will eventually show it. I do think there will be some genuine struggle for the Eagles early on.
Yeah,
in terms of this not feeling like, hey, we should be killing these guys from the start. I don't think this game will play out like that.
I'm getting the nerves, man. I'm getting that first half jitters of like, man, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were.
But I do think you mentioned it. Like the Lions have been going hard in training camp. Like I think it's possible they maybe get a little gassed. Like the Eagles have been notoriously on the other side of the spectrum, both last year under Sirianni and this year. I think Jalen Hurts played 10 preseason plays between the 3 games.
I don't know.
11. He had the
10 or 11 6 throws. Yeah.
He had the one drive with 6 throws, and I think they played one other series in the first game, I believe. But there hasn't been a ton of activity on the Eagles side. I think that's that might show up, especially when it's early on and not everybody is in full shape regardless of training camp.
I'm just looking at the Lions roster, man. They're just so the Eagles are really deep this year, and the Lions are not. Like it's just even that their ones aren't that good. Like a lot of the Eagles twos could be ones for the Giants. Well, they could be ones for the Giants, but for the Lions is what I meant. So our first question here, we're doing a little fill in the blank to talk about NFL Super Preview. And our first question here actually relates right back to the Eagles. So a little dipping our toes into the NFL by starting with the NFC East, plain and simple, fill in the blank. The NFC East winner will be
your Philadelphia Eagles, Josh.
Oh yeah.
I know you're right there with me.
Yes.
It's so simple. The only 2 teams that have gotten definitively better in this division are the Eagles and the Giants. And the Giants really just made a head coaching upgrade, and they did nothing else with their roster.
Addition by subtraction, almost.
Yeah, exactly. Anything would have been a net positive, really. After I mean, geez, do you remember the famous QB sneak on 1st and 10 from their own 4, whatever that was? That was just awesome. That was sad. That was awesome.
Football shit.
That really was. That was high school football. That was playing scared. So. But the thing is, the Giants are so not even close to being ready to contend. It's just like it almost feels too poetic for the NFC East curse to continue this year. And I'm pretty sure this will be year 20 on the dot of no repeat winners.
That's awesome. How about parity for you?
Exactly. It's insane to think about. I mean, granted, for the most part, the last 20 years has been, Eagles X, Eagles X, Eagles X. The last couple of years, it's been Cowboys, Eagles.
Cowboys X, yeah.
Exactly.
Occasional football teamer.
I think that I think the Eagles are the most talented team in this division. I think
certainly have the best schedule.
I mean, yeah, you get to play the fungible tokens and the Giants twice each. That counts, right? I don't know. I'm really trying to be as unbiased as I can here, but it's hard. It's hard not to look at the offseason that these 4 teams had, and considering how close the gap was between the Eagles and the Cowboys by the end of last season, and then seeing what transpired over this offseason between free agency and the draft. I mean, it's just hard to look at that on paper and unbiasedly say the Eagles aren't in the best spot of the 4 teams.
It's just one of those things where it's like, if they don't, I toss my hands up. Like something had to go terribly wrong, in my opinion, for the Eagles not to win the NFC East. And here's something a little funny for you. I just pulled up the odds on FanDuel because I hate betting futures. I just don't like, a poor guy like myself who, just like
you don't want to wait that long.
I don't like having my money tied up that long. But you can get the Eagles to win the NFC East at plus odds, man. And so here's what happened. The Cowboys were favorited. Then Tyron Smith, he was out for the season. The Eagles and the Cowboys were both plus 145 then, even after the Chauncey Gardner-Johnson trade. They were tied at plus 145. The Cowboys signed Jason Peters, and the Eagles have now become the front runner to win the NFC East. Not by a lot, but
not by a lot, by enough.
It's something. They're plus 135. Cowboys are plus 155, and then the Commanders are plus 600. Giants are plus 750. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't like having my money tied up in that, but it's so tempting because it just feels so good. Though I remember saying that in 2018 too, and yikes. Don't want to go there. Don't want to go down there. Slippery slope. So, Digits, with that, we open up the floor to naturally the rest of the division winners. All right. You want me to just start shouting them out, looking at the FanDuel division page right here?
Yeah, feel free. However, which way you want to do it. Just don't jump around too much.
The division, and we'll take turns.
Yes, sir.
All right. AFC East. So the Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets. Come on.
Pretty easy. This one's the Bills. As the number one Bills truther on this podcast, I could never pick against Josh. I'll say this. For as long as we do trust the process, as long as Josh Allen is the Bills quarterback, I will be picking the Bills to win the AFC East every year.
Fair enough.
Every single year.
And by the way, little preview, I said something similar to that last year, and I'm going to renege on my statement from last year. Little teaser for later. Okay. AFC North. Oh yeah, I mean Bills. That's, by the way, in case I needed to say it, Bills. I will say, man, I'm a Tua non-believer, but I think the Dolphins are a pretty good team. Like, they're similar to the Eagles in the sense where, like, they've upgraded. They got some good players, with Tyreek Hill especially, but I'm such a Tua non-believer. AFC North, Ravens, Bengals, Browns, Steelers, go.
If you caught our fantasy football preview, was that last week? The week before? Last week.
2 weeks ago.
It was
whatever. It doesn't matter.
Whenever it was last week or the week before. If you caught our fantasy football preview, you might have heard me double down on two position number ones for quarterback and tight end of the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, man.
This is the Lamar Jackson revenge tour year. The disrespect has been extremely loud because last year was not great and he missed a lot of time. We've seemed to rehash the conversation. It was Lamar Jackson, an elite quarterback somehow. I think the Ravens and the Bengals, it's pretty clearly a 2-horse race considering a certain scumbag in Cleveland won't be playing for a good majority of the season. I think the Ravens will get there because they, I don't want to say they're basically due to regress positively this year. They had an incredible amount of secondary injuries. Starting quarterback got hurt. 3 or 4 running backs got hurt. It just basically feels like the Ravens, there's no conceptual way the Ravens will be as unlucky as they were last year.
That's true.
And I think that there's a very real hangover to losing the Super Bowl. I don't think the Bengals will struggle too bad. Like, I just think that it'll be enough where the Ravens are maybe going to win 12 or 13 games and look really, really good this year, I think.
Yeah, man. I think the Ravens are going to be a good team. I think they're going to be dangerous come playoff time, but I think the Bengals win that division, man. I just think they're getting really disrespected this season. They didn't lose anyone big, did they? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
See, that's the thing that I'm getting bogged up by. Like, I think
just a lot of people think that the Bengals kind of, they were like, they got hot at the right time. Like they were the classic case of getting hot at the right time. And can you really stay hot from 8 months ago? I
don't think that's it though. Like, I think they're genuinely a really, really, like, one of the best teams in the NFL. Not like the top 5 team in the NFL, but I think right now they're the best team in the AFC North. And I love Lamar, and I think it's close. The Ravens make the playoffs. They'll make a good run maybe even, but I got to go with the Bengals here. You got Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow another year together. That offensive line got better. Like, I'll take the Bengals for fun. Bengals plus 165, Ravens plus 145. So still, like, that one's neck and neck too in Vegas's eyes. I favor the Ravens slightly, but I'll go Bengals. Moving right along, AFC South here: Colts, Titans, Jags, and Texans. Even if you even want to count the Texans. Digits, who are you going with?
Josh, I really want to do it. I can't do it in good faith yet. I think I have to lean to the Colts as much as I really don't.
What do you want to do? The Jags?
You know what I want to do.
You want to do the Jags?
You're goddamn right. I want to do the Jags. I think that the Jaguars made the biggest head coaching upgrade because they went from a
Damn
negative
right.
10 to a guy who's a solid 5 at worst. Maybe that's a little bit of bias, but we saw what Doug P was able to do with a young quarterback and a team that bought in and respected him after he replaced a guy who was widely hated in the locker room. I see a lot of similarities to his arrival in Philly versus his arrival in Jacksonville.
Yeah,
That's why I'm not ready to do it yet this year because the Eagles only went 7-9 year one under Doug
true.
P. I think the Jaguars will be widely improved this year. I think them and Tennessee will both be pretty mediocre, but be a clear second place to the not as good as whoever comes in second in the AFC North team. But that's how playoff seeding works.
Yeah.
I'll say this: I think that assuming the Colts do win, I think they'll be the weakest division winner out of the 8.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, and Vegas agrees with you. Digits, I will say if you have any inclination to bet the Jaguar, you should put like a small wager. They're plus 750 to win that division, man.
I mean, there's always a team that comes out of nowhere, man. Worst to first. I think they ended up finishing lower than the Texans, if I'm remembering correctly. So
yeah, they did, didn't they? And then that first overall pick is still curious to me. Travon Walker, right? Is that his name? I don't even know. I don't even know who. Like, curious.
He's looked all right in preseason from what I've seen and heard and stuff. But yeah, the Jaguars, they ended up in 4th last year, and they definitely feel like they could be a very spunky team this year. It's just maybe too early.
So Colts are minus 140. I'm going to go the Colts also. I like the Titans. I've always liked Vrabel a ton. I feel like it's a pro Mike Vrabel show. The Titans it's Derrick Henry to me, and it's the obvious loss of A.J. Brown. I have my concerns about Derrick Henry. As a Derrick Henry fantasy owner the past 2 seasons, loved the guy, but last year he's made
on the wrong side of 27 and he had a major injury last year, man.
He made my season and then ended my season, and it's just and I want him to do well. I root for him. He's one of those guys where like he's on your fantasy team, you just end up rooting for him a little bit because Derrick Henry is him, I guess you could say. But we've seen this with running backs, Digits. It's not. It doesn't.
The drop off comes hard for running backs when it's their time to drop off. They
you can make a case that Tannehill's resurgence has really been a credit to Derrick Henry, in my opinion. So I don't know how good Tannehill is without Henry or without A.J. Brown. So I got to go Colts. I agree. Weakest division winner, however. Ready for the fun one? AFC West, baby. AFC West. Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos, and the Raiders.
Raiders.
Give it to me.
After much ado, it's going to be the Los Angeles Chargers. I think I'm not going to get too ahead of myself in terms of spoiling future things that we're about to discuss. The Chargers are about as all in as you can be. And I think that the Chiefs losing Tyreek Hill was their X factor. He was what made them into a consistently unstoppable team. I think they'll still be great, but he gave them something that no other team had. And now that's not there anymore. So I think that the investments the Chargers made mostly into the defensive side of the ball this year are going to pay off big time. I think they're going to come out of that bloodbath.
Yes, sir. I am doubling down with you, Digits. I'm on the Chargers as well. I wasn't sure if that's what you were going to go with, but I'm with the Chargers, man. What's there to be said about Justin Herbert? Like, first of all, by the end of the season, there's going to be a lot of people with Justin Herbert. He's going to get MVP votes, I think. He's going to be in the discussion as the best quarterback. But most of all, I'm with you. They made the best move and the quietest move of the entire offseason, in my opinion, and that was adding Khalil Mack to their team. I don't know why that isn't talked about more. So, yes, I'm with you on the Chargers. It's hard for me to do. You know I'm a big Mahomes fanboy. I like Justin Herbert, but I'm certainly not like a Herbert fan, So, look, I
love me some Justin Herbert. Yeah. Dude is awesome.
Yeah, so we're both on the Chargers there. You can get them at plus 220. Look, I think all these teams are going to have winning records, plain and simple. I know there's a lot of people who don't like the Raiders. I think they're going to be good. They're just, how many wins can they get in that division? I don't know.
Agreed.
This division is going to be funny because I think it'll be one of those situations where they beat up on each other. Some of those win totals are going to be like, how'd the Broncos only get 9 wins this year? Oh, they had to play the Chiefs, Chargers, and Raiders. That's how. That's not
everyone's going to be 3-3 in that division come
right.
year's end.
We already did the NFC East. You got us there. Here's a fun one. NFC North. Packers, unfortunately, Banners, Vikings can't join us tonight. Then the Lions and Dobb Bears. Talk about a 2-team race. Who you got coming out?
It's a shame that Banners isn't here because I would have loved to see his face when I said the Vikings are going to win the NFC North this year. I think them and the Packers are both 11-win teams, and I think that they get a tiebreaker over them, some which way, shape, or form. I think that the Vikings are going to be the team that has the fancy new head coach with all the weapons. Like the Vikings were definitely a team in need of a character refresh, I guess. You know what I mean? Like a philosophy refresh.
Yeah.
They didn't have the guys to play, a slow, ugly game. Like why would you do that when you have a really, really good dynamic receiving trio? And let's be honest, Kirk Cousins it seems at this point, I think Kirk Cousins is better when he doesn't have to think. Sure, Kirk Cousins is going to throw you dumb picks now and then, but I think if you're going to have him throw a dumb pick, like if he's good for one dumb pick a game, you might as well make it one of his 40 pass attempts instead of one of his 25.
That's a funny way of putting it. But I'm with you. I hate to say it. I'm taking the Vikings also. I can't believe it, wow. Man. I just.
You have to hand in your Aaron Rodgers fan club card.
Hell no. I'm his fan. I'm a big fan of his.
Nope, but I can you have to hand it in. That's how it works. You can't pick against him.
Oh, come on, man. You see his first. I don't even know what you want. What should we focus on more? His Joe Rogan interviews or his interviews about training camp? Like, come on, man. Between those two, I think I'd be an idiot to pick the Packers. And he cracks me up. I'm sorry. I don't think he's like this great guy or anything, but damn it, is he entertaining? And I'm here for it. That being said, man, I'm picking the Vikings to win this division. Everything you said, I agree with. I'm with you. It'll be close. Bottom line is Aaron Rodgers has made a career out of turning nobodies into good receivers, but how long can you do that for?
And how nobody can you go? You know what
right.
I mean?
Like it's like the Packers are like, oh, you want to stay with us again? Bet. Like, do it again, man. Let's see.
We'll increase the difficulty again.
Right. And then on the other hand, this is the first season for me that Kirk Cousins isn't a joke, right? Like I don't even know how else to put it. Kirk Cousins is always just a good for a good NFL meme. And this season it's like, oh, Captain Kirk can play. You know what I mean? Like, sure, he'll make some mistakes. Sure, his record in primetime games isn't great, but I think the buck stops this year, and that's a little preview on my week 2 prediction. Don't want to get into that. I am scared. Vikings are one of those teams you don't want to see on your schedule this year, I think. When you got a guy like Dalvin Cook, new coach, fresh blood, Kirk Cousins, I hate to say it, he's reached respectable territory. NFC South digits, this is so weird. I don't even know if I have a pick for the NFC South. Bucks, Saints, Panthers, Falcons. Are we firing them cannons?
Yeah, the Bucks. Don't overthink this one. The Bucks might start slow. This might, we might have more September talks of is Tom Brady done. But I guarantee you, when it matters the most, the Bucks will come together. Rob Gronkowski will ascend from the heavens and don the 87 again, and the Bucks will be back in business by Thanksgiving, just in time to win their last 5 in a row and be the team that absolutely nobody wants to play when it matters the most.
Oh, all right. I can't see if there was any other team in the NFC South, I'd go against the Bucks, but there isn't. I can't pick the Saints, man. I think the Panthers will be a sneaky good team, but I sure as hell am not picking them to win the division. And let's forget about the Falcons. They don't have a quarterback. They're an experimental team. I guess I'll go with the Bucks. Having said that, wouldn't be surprised if they didn't win. This is probably my least confident division pick, which is crazy because they're minus 230 to win the division, which, like you said, don't overthink it, right? It's Tom Brady. Their competition isn't great. But I guess my hottish take about the Bucks would be they're not going to win their division because of Tom Brady. It's going to be because of that defense. It's going to be because of that run game. And I mean, it's as simple as that.
I think they have a pretty favorable schedule. I think.
That too.
I think it's fair to say. Minus the first place part of it, the rest of it is pretty favorable.
NFC West, the last and certainly not least. Talk about a good division race. Don't forget about the Seahawks. Cardinals, Niners, Rams. Who you got?
You're never going to believe me. You're going to think
someone's Cardinals?
I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals are going to win this division. I actually think the Rams are going to be the team that suffers from a larger Super Bowl hangover than the Bengals do. I think that the Cardinals' desire to be great until the new Call of Duty comes out in early to mid-November will be enough of a cushion for them to survive down the stretch. I'm not a believer in Trey Lance whatsoever.
Preach.
If the 49ers were, serious about competing for a title this year, I think they would have stuck with Jimmy G. I think that they're kind of doubling down on their business decision to trade up for a guy like Lance. And they're basically saying, we trust him, or, we have no choice but to trust him. But just in case this really goes south, like the 49ers know they can still be a thorn in the side of a team like the Rams or any team really in the NFC. Like they're just a pesky out. If they make it in the playoffs, they've proven to be a pesky out under Kyle Shanahan. And I think they're keeping Jimmy Garoppolo around for that. It's just a question of how much bad do you need to see to pull the plug on the Trey Lance experiment? Because once you pull him, it's done. You can't go back. You can't go back this year. Maybe next year when Garoppolo is gone, I mean, you kind of have no choice. But once you pull Lance once this year, you have no choice.
How about this? You can't go back as a Niner. I mean, that's what we see with Carson Wentz. And not everything's Carson Wentz, but that's kind of how it works these days, man.
I would say minor differences, considering I'm going to assume that in this scenario, Trey Lance isn't going to garner any MVP votes. But I get what you're saying. To connect with our audience. I think that's not the worst way you could have gotten.
Go back on, like, once you've said no to someone, like, it's like, I don't know, man. In this day and age, who has that worked? Has a team like pulled the leash on a rookie quarterback and then sent him back out there and seen success? I don't think so.
Not success.
I can't
not
think
that
of
I
any
can really think of. Yeah, no, not particularly.
All right, this will be a case study, though. We'll get back to you on next Monday because I am curious. I feel like there has been one, but I just not coming to me right now.
Yeah.
Digits, man, I like it. I think there is a lot to be said about a lot of noise surrounding the Cardinals this offseason, specifically Kyler Murray. But I think they're a good team, man. I think they will do well, and I'm not picking them to win the division. I'm going with the Rams. I'm sticking with the Rams, but I will preface, I want to be clear, though, the Cardinals come in second, and they give the Rams run for their money, and I think the Niners might even miss the playoffs. I am so out on the 49ers. And you know what, damn it, I've said that last 3 years. Not that they missed the playoffs, but I've said I was out on the Niners, and they always find a way. To your credit, Shanahan always finds a way. I can't pick the Niners. That does it for us, by the way, with the division winners.
Yep.
What do you got for wild cards?
Which conference do you want to go first?
Let's go AFC.
AFC, Bengals, Chiefs, Broncos.
Ooh, all right.
I think the Dolphins are a better team than the Colts, but I think that the odd man out in what I don't want to exaggerate here. This might be the most stacked conference we've seen in our lives, like in a single year. I genuinely cannot think of a conference in our lifetime that is legitimately like 9 teams deep that are
all the AFC
that could win a playoff game.
I'll be honest, man. I would have the Raiders winning like a lot of other divisions. The Raiders would win the South.
I think the Raiders would walk the AFC South, and I think they would be a clear second place in the AFC East, for example.
I mean, I if the Raiders were in the division with the Eagles, I'd be scared. I think the Raiders would win the NFC North, like straight up, man. I don't know. Like, I'm higher on the Raiders than the next guy for sure. But my wild cards here. Let's see. So I picked the Bengals, so I'll go Ravens. So we agree, second place in AFC North. So for me, that's
a 2-horse race. The Steelers and the Browns are going to be too dead, but in the water by the time Watson comes back, and the Steelers are just they're going to be mediocre.
We should as a collective, as an NFL. Let's all don the NFL hat real quick. The Rob Lowe NFL hat. We gotta hate the Browns for years to come now. Like,
absolutely.
Like long.
It's crazy that they had so much like pity goodwill build up, right? Like they kind of lost some of it with the Baker stuff in general this year, and then when the Watson stuff happened, it's just like everybody's gonna laugh at the Browns' failures because they're scumbags now, not because they're the laughable losers.
Oh man, that's a good way to put it. My other two teams. So what I say? I said the Ravens. Give me the Ravens. Give me the Chiefs.
You got to stick with your guys. You just said you were high on them.
I'm doing it. And the Raiders.
You got to.
Weapons, man. Weapons. And I'm not some Derek Carr fanboy, but like, he's not a bad quarterback. And
he's got the weapons.
You know what it is? I love Devontae Adams. I can't get myself enough Devontae Adams. You got Hunter Renfrow. And we saw that Raiders defense last year. Like, they were great some games. They were awful some games. I think it's going to go the same way this year. I mean, they were making a run in the playoffs last year without Devontae Adams. I'm all in on the Ravens. Raiders. NFC, what do you got?
So two are pretty straightforward: Rams and Packers. I think the Packers aren't going to be any more threatening than they have been, but you're going to be surprised by this one: the Carolina Panthers.
Digits.
You forget how good they were playing at the start of the year before the Sam
So-
Darnold catastrophe meltdown that occurred.
So
Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback.
Yeah,
I think that division's soft enough where I think there's a pretty clear drop off after the top 6 in the NFC. I think that spot's really as wide open as could be. I think the Cowboys got significantly worse this year. I really do. I think the Cowboys maybe have gotten comparatively more worse than any other team in the NFL this year.
So Digits, I don't want to burst your bubble here because I was doing this earlier. Like I am pro Panthers, and I was chatting up with coworkers about like Panthers could be onto something. Let me check their over under on wins. Have you looked at their schedule?
No.
See that, and I feel bad because what are you supposed to know every team's schedule? Of course not. Like this is only because I was just looking at their Panthers schedule. It's rough. It is a rough schedule because they play the NFC West, my friend. That is like I don't know. So I'll run it through just real quick. Browns, Giants, Saints. Okay, then they play the Cardinals, the Niners, the Rams, and the Buccaneers in 4 weeks in a row. That's
I think the 49ers are beatable. I think I think the 49ers can beat any team, and I think the 49ers can lose to any team if Trey Lance is playing.
It doesn't get much better, though. They play the Bengals, they play the Ravens, they play the Broncos, and then they play the Bucs and the Saints again. So like they're out of division games are scary.
They're not great.
That's my pump. I'm with you. I think the Panthers are a very good team, like a sneaky good team. Like how they're when the season comes like and you see the BR betting post of like spread covers, Panthers are probably going to be like the most profitable team this season.
I think that, I wanted to get outside the box, and I think the 49ers are the obvious choice there. And I think that, if you're going to have convictions on opinions, you got to stick with them. And I think Trey Lance stinks.
I'm with that too. So I'm with you. For this sake, we're doubling down. I do not have the Niners making the playoffs. I think the Cardinals will be making the playoffs from the NFC West. I believe the Packers will be making the playoffs. And I think the Saints will make a wild card spot. I didn't want to do it.
Fair.
Look, what am I going to do? Say the Cowboys? Cowboys are going to be close, but yeah, I'm with you, man. I think they got significantly worse. If Trayvon Diggs has a season like he did last year, maybe, but we all know the numbers about how bad Trayvon Diggs is when he doesn't pick balls off. Mm-hmm. It's just hard for me to believe he's going to have that many interceptions. Micah Parsons is terrifying, but you said it, man. They got significantly worse, and I don't know how much Micah Parsons can really improve and change that team. Some hot takes there in the wild card.
I mean, it feels like the Cowboys' defensive turnover rate it's unsustainable. It's just simply unsustainable for any team, let alone a team that's relatively mediocre.
So wait, I guess we kind of buried my next question there. We got ahead of ourselves. Just while we're on the topic. The next fill in the blank was blank will overperform while blank will grossly underperform. So do you have the Panthers as your overperform? And I guess I have the Raiders.
Panthers or Jags, and I'll go Cowboys and Patriots for underperform.
Yeah, I mean, do people believe in the Patriots? Like, what's the general consensus on them?
I don't know. It seems weird. I mean, they have Matt Patricia as a co-offensive coordinator, and I certainly can't believe in that.
Yeah, but I guess, I mean, I think when they made Matt Patricia their play call, I think everyone was like, well, I mean, come on. What are they going to do this year? I don't know. I'm with you. I think the Patriots have a bad year, but I don't know how much they'll underperform expectations. Digits, you're not going to
they made the playoffs last year. I think they regressed by a game or two, but that's the difference between being, what were they, 10-7 last year? I think that's the difference between being 10-7 or 8-9. You know what I mean? Right. Like 8-9 there's no way you're making the playoffs in the AFC at 8-9.
All right, Digits. I want to get to my underperform because it's kind of targeted at you.
Okay.
The Buffalo Bills will underperform this season.
I'm sorry to hear that, Josh. I really am.
And I'm saying they're underperforming people's expectations because right now they're the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying like, oh, they're going to lose in the AFC Championship, and that's a gross underperforming. I like Josh Allen, man. I think they're really good, but I just don't get what. Like, when did every NFL football fan get in a room together and decide that the Bills were the best team in the NFL? Because I was not invited to that meeting, and I certainly don't agree with that. You have a rebuttal?
Well, guess what? Vegas knows better than you.
Vegas knows better than me. I'll be taking Vegas to the woodshed after they have the Eagles at -3.5 against the Lions digits. Book that. I'm not with it. So on that topic, man, can I just assume your MVP pick?
Who do you want to assume it as?
Josh Allen?
You'd be correct.
Yeah. So I'm going Justin Herbert, man. Kind of going back to what we were saying earlier.
I had him in there first, but then I realized that
Yeah.
doesn't align with everything else that I'm going to say with the remainder of this segment.
Listen, man. Regardless, I'd say both of those guys are top 3 at least.
Agreed.
At least.
I actually have Justin Herbert as my offensive player of the year.
Man, he's a likable guy. Like I said, I'm not so because I made myself like a Mahomes fanboy and a Rodgers fanboy. I can't be a flip flopper. You know what I mean? Justin Herbert's one of those guys where it's like you see a Chargers game, you're like, I just like watching good football. I just like watching good quarterback play. That's Justin Herbert to me. But yeah, Josh Allen plus 700. He's the odds-on favorite. Justin Herbert plus 900. He is the 4th favorite. Tom Brady's plus 800. It's just so classic. It's just so classic. Mahomes, obviously, I felt like it went without saying. Mahomes, obviously, plus 800. Real quick, Jalen Hurts, plus 2,500, tied with Trey Lance. Disrespect.
That is a little disrespectful.
Well, no, plus 2,500, I think, is a fine number for Jalen Hurts, but to have Trey Lance.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Hurts should be considered a long shot, but I think Trey Lance should be 50-1.
Jalen Hurts is the last guy that you would be sane to bet on MVP. And I mean, that's also coming from someone who is insane. I only say that because after Hurts, the next guy is Mac Jones. The guy after Jones is Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, then Tua. So, there's a big drop off after.
I'd say there's a 0.2% chance Kirk Cousins wins MVP.
I'd take those odds. I'm kidding.
If the Vikings won 12 games and Kirk Cousins went for 43 touchdowns and 10 picks and 5,000 plus yards, I could see it. Do I think that'll happen? Not necessarily. Yeah. But I'll say this: it has more of a chance of happening now than it ever did under Zimmer.
You're damn right. You're damn right about that. It's not going to happen. I didn't add this, but let's just do it for fun. Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, I have all these. I have all the ones that.
Go ahead.
Okay, I got Myles Garrett as Defensive Player of the Year. I think it's a little outside. I think it's going to be one of those cases where
odds-on favorite.
He is?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Sorry, I looked a couple days ago, and it was Aaron Donald and TJ Watt were above him.
On FanDuel, at least, we got Myles Garrett plus 700. It's a small difference. TJ Watt plus 800. Aaron Donald plus 900. Nick Bosa plus 1,000. Micah Parsons plus 1,000.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I thought I wasn't going chalk here because I was already going chalk with Josh Allen for MVP. Whatever. That's what I said. I think it's going to be the case. I think the Bengals are mostly going to stink, but any games that they're able to win with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback,
Browns.
Probably at least 2 of them will be because of Myles Garrett. And I think that's enough. Like usually defensive player in the last 5-10 years has really just turned into how many games have you won for your team defensively kind of deal, as opposed to like
how many sacks you have.
Yeah, how many sacks you have.
Yeah.
Or if you're the guy who leads the league in interceptions.
So all right, so I'm kind of going with the opposite logic, actually. And I'm going to go Nick Bosa, man. It just makes sense. I don't
hate it.
No, because he's every now and then there's like a guy for decoy that kind of comes out of nowhere. But nowadays it really feels like an edge rusher type of award. And just the list that I said, I don't think Micah Parsons wins it. I think he'll be in the discussion. I mean, he's a freak. I think Aaron Donald is going to have a Super Bowl hangover. I really do.
I mean, Aaron Donald's won his fair share. It's like voting LeBron for MVP. You just don't want to do it anymore.
That's pretty much it. TJ Watt, I want to go with Myles Garrett, dude. I just think there's just going to be something foul in Cleveland this season, and Myles Garrett's going to catch wind of that. And for me, I think Nick Bosa, what you said about Myles Garrett is kind of how I feel about Nick Bosa. Like, I think that offense and Trey Lance is going to struggle, and there's going to be games where, like remember prime JJ Watt? I almost feel on the Texans.
Yeah. Taking over the game kind of.
Taking over the game from the defensive end position, and then Trey Lance is going to blow it for them. So, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting with Nick Bosa, which that does go against what I said, but it's not like we're picking the MVP here. The MVP is always like the best player on the best team. No, I'm sorry, the quarterback on the best team. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And then let's just throw comeback player of the year. That's a fun one, man, because you can pick anyone pretty much. Is Christian McCaffrey pretty much a lock, or do you think he's going to get hurt again?
I actually have Chase Young down here.
Ooh,
on my end.
Ooh, you can get Chase Young at plus 3,000.
I feel like Christian McCaffrey is, his time's passed for comeback player of the year. You know what I mean? Like he gets.
Yeah,
I feel like these ways people are over him. Like I feel like people are over Christian McCaffrey. Like unless he's like putting up, I think he would need to like put up like MVP numbers.
Right.
Basically,
and the comeback player of the year is a lot more narrative driven, plain and simple.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think Chase Young will have the narrative.
So, on the narrative point, I'm going with Saquon, man, and I don't like to do it, but I mean, he in fantasy terms, I know you got drafts the next couple of nights. He's falling. He is falling, like, and not like I actually took him in my fantasy draft, and I'm not like all hyped up about him, but when he's healthy and when he's playing up to his potential, he's damn good. And I think people like Saquon. He's a very likable guy from an NFL perspective.
Especially in our area. He's a Penn State guy. Like,
right.
He comes across, he's in our little bubble here in Eagles country. Like there's a lot of overlap between Eagles and Penn State. So you kind of have the pass if you're if you're a Giants player, because he didn't choose the Giants. He chose Penn State.
Right. I like Saquon. Like, I don't like Saquon. You get what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to Saquon, though, plus 2,000 also. And real quick, let's do rookies of the year, offensive rookie of the year. Who you got? Are you Olave? Are you the big Olave guy?
I am. I think Olave is wide receiver one for the Saints by the time it's all said and done this year. And for defensive rookie of the year, I have Kyle Hamilton. I think that'll be a big narrative behind that one. I think the Ravens secondary will be like for as disheveled and as easily taken advantage of as they were last year. I think the Ravens, like I said, the last couple of weeks, I think the Ravens are in a really, really good spot for a bounce back season as a whole. I think the Ravens defense will be really, really good this year. And I think that naturally people will be like, why is the Ravens defense so good? Well, look at how much better the secondary is this year compared to last year.
Yeah, man. I can't really disagree with that. Offensive rookie of the year for me, chalk. I'm going Kenny Pickett, man. He's going to be that starting quarterback.
Really? Okay.
I think. Why? Let me hear your.
I think you'd be from a pure prediction and from a betting standpoint. I think you'd be better suited going with one of the wide receivers.
Well, Kenny Pickett's plus 900 to win.
I don't think he's going to start enough games. I think the Steelers were going to stick with their quarterback because their offensive line is going to be so bad, and I think that we're going to see this. I think the Steelers are going to be probably a bottom 7 to 10 offense. I think they're really going to struggle running the ball, and I think that would make any quarterback struggle. And I don't think Mike Tomlin is the kind of guy that's going to put in a rookie quarterback to get thrown to the wolves when his starting quarterback is already under fire every single play. Exactly. Well, and Mitch Trubisky, he has hardware. Josh, you're forgetting this. It's hard to dethrone a guy with a highly prestigious individual award like that.
It's the best, dude. That'll never get old. That will never get old.
The worst part is that's the only one in history that's ever going to be made. It's not even like he's going to become part of like a small club. Like he's going to be the only MVP in NFL history. I
did not see his name team captain though. Is that official?
I saw that earlier today. Yeah, that was today. Because I only saw it because he hasn't even been officially named the starting QB by Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's been trying to act like it's like a real competition, but he got, you don't name your backup quarterback captain. So
look, to me, man, I think it's if Kenny Pickett did not go to Pitt, it would be different, but he did. He's at this point, he's a Pittsburgh guy. The city is going to be clamoring for him when they watch they're going to watch Mitch Trubisky play a game of football, and they're going to be clamoring for him. There's not a lot of cities, and I'm not saying they're like that comparable to Philadelphia, but damn it, do they love football in Pittsburgh? And they are going to be asking for Kenny Pickett, and I think they're going to get Kenny Pickett. So, of course, I got to go with the quarterback there. And I like Kenny Pickett. I don't think he'll set the world on fire, but I think he'll put enough good throws and enough good plays together to win that award. But also, admittedly, man, I'm just not sold by any of these other rookies. George Pickens, by the way, co-favorite for Rookie of the Year. Is he co-favorite rookie for Rookie of the Year just because of the picture of him when he got drafted?
I think it was that. that one touchdown catch he had in preseason. That
That's
really
true. I
seemed
forgot
to
about that.
that really seemed to open the floodgates on the George Pickens hype.
Defensive rookie of the year. Screw it. I'll go Jordan Davis like a homer. I
wanted to, but I did my Jordan Davis fan fix speech last week. So
I know. Yeah, no, I think maybe we're just trading spots because I wanted to do it last week, didn't get to do it. Like, just the consensus is here. Damn it, we love Jordan Davis. He's just gonna be a problem, man. He's gonna be a guy you have the game plan for. And I think it's good. Like, every time you see a highlights show, I think he's going to be a favorite of like football guys, like breakdowns, like where they get the telestrator and they're like, watch Jordan Davis just blow this play up.
Look
like,
at Jordan Davis eat this double team.
Yeah. He's double team. Don't matter. Reaches out one arm. He tackles him with his pinky. Like, it's going to be a Jordan Davis hype train on all the highlight shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
with you. I just think that a run stopping D tackle is just,
you're right.
It's the hardest thing to predict an individual award to. He would have to just be so insane at that one specific thing.
I think he's just going to make so many of those plays that I'm talking about.
I agree. I think he's going to be probably the most impactful. Like, he's going to be impact from day one, which is something you can't say about a lot of rookie players on either side of the ball. I think it's just a matter of, like, there's a reason an offensive tackle is never going to win MVP.
Yeah, maybe. Real quick, man. You got the Bills winning the Super Bowl?
Dude, come on. You keep ruining everything for me. I think this NFL season will start the same way it'll end, with the Bills defeating the Rams.
Oh, how about that? You've been so anti-Rams. You got the Rams going all the way back.
I told you, I think the Rams will be hungover, but they're not. They're going to be a team that, when they realize that they're 3.5 games back of the Cardinals come Thanksgiving, they're going to be like, oh shit, we need to turn it on now. And they're not going to be able to catch up to the Cardinals, I don't think. But they're going to, they're too good of a team. They're way too good of a team to miss the playoffs. This is not a matter of talent. It's a matter of motivation, I think, especially for a team of mostly older guys and a lot of guys that all really had their first taste of success all at once last year. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp. If Odell Beckham comes back, basically all the big names on offense and defense had never really had any kind of playoff success until last year. So I think the Rams will get by on talent for a good chunk of their games, but I think when they're up against a team like the Bills, who have for the last 7 months had to replay that 13-second drive that the Chiefs did in their head, I don't think that they're going to be able to match the intensity that a team like the Bills can. Like, it's not a matter of matching intensity; it's a matter of matching the intensity and the talent. And I don't think that they're going to have as much intensity and talent combination, mostly on the intensity side for Week 1, for example. They're going to have no issues, destroying the Seahawks, and the Niners are kind of their kryptonite, but I'm sure they'll kill the Cardinals once or twice this year. Right. But when it comes, the Rams have been super susceptible to trap games under Sean McVay in general. This is kind of a trap season almost. So I think they're too good to miss the playoffs. I think there's way too much continuity there from last year from a team that just won the Super Bowl and was the NFC 2 seed, I believe, going into the playoffs last year. They're too good to not make any noise this year. But I think they're going to be. I think come Week 6 or Week 7, we might be saying what's wrong with the Rams.
Well, Vegas agrees with you. Plus 600 for the Bills from the Super Bowl. Not great odds, but hey, man, it's for a reason. They got those odds for a reason. They are the odds-on favorite. I was not at this meeting where we all decided that the Bills.
That's what I mean. I think a lot of people would agree with you. Like, why are the Bills the best team? And I think that, we always say this, Josh. We always say Vegas is smarter than us. If Vegas has Josh Allen as the MVP favorite, too. They're right more than they're wrong.
You're right. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, they're right more than I am. I'll say that.
And guess what? More people are going to be inclined to put money on other futures because they don't believe that the Bills are the best team in the league. And what does that do? If the Bills are really the best team in the league and they should be the favorites to win the Super Bowl, Vegas is going to love seeing people put in slips on the Rams and the Bucks and the Chiefs. So that's how it goes.
That brings us to last year, and I want to even say the year before it. I said, as long as Mahomes and Reed and Kelsey and all those guys are together. Go ahead, Max.
I was just going to say, the way that I wrote it out, I have Bills over Chargers and Rams over Eagles.
Wow.
In the title games.
Wow.
I think the bracket's going to really favor the Eagles. I think they're going to end up with the 2 seed this year.
I like that, man. You're going to be excited. I got going against the Chiefs. I can't believe it. I said I will always pick the Chiefs as long as they got Mahomes and Reed and all those guys. I can't do it, man. Without Tyreek Hill, I just can't do it. And I am going with the Los Angeles Chargers, not the Rams, the Chargers. It's been the theme of some of my other answers today. Sticking with my guns, man. I mean, I don't have to go into it. I've been talking about it. I feel like I'll show. It just feels like to me it's going to be the Chargers' year. Now, admittedly, I haven't really looked at their schedule. They got a tough division, but it doesn't matter. When I just think they're that good this year. They're plus 1,400. They're the one future bet I have in for this season. I have $10 to win. I got them at plus 1,700, I want to say. 10 to win, 170 on the Chargers to win the Super Bowl. And Digits, that just about wraps it up for us. You got a tap out.
Not so much a tap out, but I do have a fun Chicago fact that really blew my mind when I heard it on like a boat tour kind of deal. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so there's this building in Chicago called the Merchandise Mart, and up until sometime after 2000, I forget the exact year, so sue me. This building is so big, it's over 2 acres, of sheer area on each of its long sides, and for like 60 or 70 years had its very own zip code, which I thought was like,
what?
Yeah, sickest thing ever. Major flex. Have your own zip code. One building had its own zip code. I thought that was the craziest shit ever. So I wanted to share that fun fact with the audience.
Big fan of that fun fact. I'm Googling it literally right now.
It's called the Merchandise Mart.
God. I'm looking at it. How is this not more known? What?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. You would think this would be like a really cool fun fact that makes its way outside of Chicago. But
how do they not?
I'd never heard this.
When the Bears are playing home games on primetime, how is the Merchandise Mart not being shown?
It probably has been at some point. But
good call.
I feel like we don't watch enough Bears games.
Quick tap out for me. Right before the show, Francis Tiafoe beat Rafael Nadal in the U.S. Open. It's freaking awesome. Everyone was tweeting about it.
There's been a lot of upsets. I'm not a tennis guy, but
yeah,
I saw Kyrgios beat Medvedev. I know there's been some upsets on the women's side.
Yep.
This seems like it's been, if you're a tennis person, it seems like this has been one of the best tournaments in a while.
Man, it's so like I'm like not a tennis person, but I also am not like I enjoy it. I enjoy the sport. It's a good sport.
You're not like a hardcore follower, but like maybe you're like how I am with soccer. You follow it to like a slightly more than casual, but less than hardcore.
That's exactly how I'd put it. The one guy I've tethered myself to is Francis Tiafoe, man. And like I like it sounds so lame because like now
it's a big win.
It's a big win, man, and it's a big win for America. Like as dumb as that sounds. Like, it feels good to have, like, an American tennis player beating Rafael Nadal. And I don't think he's going to win the U.S. Open, but
he beat Rafael Nadal, and everybody knows who Rafael Nadal is.
Tiafoe is 24 years old. Like, us Americans got something to look forward to. Remember the name, Francis Tiafoe. He's awesome. Although he did say after it, he was happy his favorite NBA player, Bradley Beal, was there to watch him. Come on, man. Bradley Beal, he's such a loser. You can't.
That's a pander answer right there.
He's from Maryland, right? So.
Okay. Well, then that's allowed. That's allowed. That's cool.
Yeah, no, you're right. Now that I think about it, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's the home. He's not like oh, I love LeBron. He sticks with the home team. So you know what? I take that back. Regardless, it was awesome. Look, I know tennis, it ain't for everyone, but just keep in mind we got Americans now beating Rafael Nadal.
And it's just like the World Cup. It only matters if America wins.
Right. Not true, actually. World Cup's awesome. That's coming up. Anyways, we've been going on for too long, but you know what? Deservedly so. This was the NFL episode.
It's the NFL preview week. 3 days till football, man.
A lot of pent-up thoughts here. And you know what? Monday night's already over, so there's 2 days till football. How about that?
Yeah. We are less than 48 hours from kickoff, I think.
All right, Digits. We're out of here. We're brought to you by My New Philly, where something's always news.
And everything is always Philly.
Go Birds. It's that time. We'll see ya.